that is what I would do early in the morning. Thank you. How do you value your work? Presently, I value my work as they are auctioned internationally. You get information. In fact, usually the auction houses send you a catalog of what they are auctioning this month or in 2 months' time. And then when it happens, they send you how much they sold your work. So it gives you an idea of how much you are really worth. But only yesterday, the work we were selling here in this gallery was sold far under auction, because they were selling auction. And they were selling it to raise funds for some foundation. I offered it for that thing. And they sold my work for 20,000. And that work was worth, at least in my office, in my gallery, it was at 32,000. But it was sold for 20,000. Now, that is not my worth. I know that my worth is really out there in pounds and dollars. So when I change it, I know that I'm worth so much. I won't tell you. No, I'm worth the last catalog that came from Bonham's. Bonham sells work in London. He sells African work, African artists' work. And a small, about half of this sold for £16,000. About half this painting, £16,000. Now, that gives me an idea of how much I'm worth. It gives an idea, okay? So yes, if your work gets to the auctioning hammer, then you begin to think you are there, you are getting there. Until your work gets under the hammer, it's hard to say you are there or you are getting there. I keep advising my young artists that, look, it is now at this age, and I'm 82, I'm getting to 82 next month. At 82, now that I'm getting some money, and I don't mind, I think I'm doing fine now. I'm doing better than when I was teaching at the university. Much, much better. Maybe I'm doing as well as the president. But, but I would advise young artists to think about how they price their work from the beginning. Because I see some work that simply are overpriced, particularly if you are unknown. If you are unknown, now, no matter how beautiful the work is, no matter how good, how great the work is, 90% of our people don't know. They don't know what is good or what is bad. They want a painting in their house. They want to fill a wall. And they want a name. So if they have Ablade Glover, they can talk to their friends. I got Ablade Glover, for, you know, and that's, for him or her, it is a great thing. But your work must be out there, and it's good to send your work there by selling them as reasonably as possible, so that somebody enters the American embassy, he sees your painting, and he goes and says, oh, Kofi Mensah, okay. He puts it in the head. He goes about looking for Kofi Mensah. That's all. So let's just be flexible and sell whilst we are young. Send the paintings out. They are your children. They are the ambassadors. Your paintings are your ambassadors. Send the paintings out. And whilst they are out, by the time you are 40, like Wiz and Larry and Niti Mills and all that, by the time you are 40, you'll be selling respectably. Okay? So please. But I tell you, it's consistency, perseverance, going on, loving what you are doing. Really, the greatest feeling I get is when I paint a picture. It is more than, for me, it's greater than how much I sell the painting. When I feel this is good, I like it. I like it. That's it. It's good. I like it. And that's it. And some good ones, people come and they don't notice it. They notice the things you don't like and they buy them. That's okay. That's all right.
Fine. So we have our next question from this gentleman.
Good evening.
Good evening to you.
I actually have two questions for you.
Very good.
One is, what was your greatest fear growing up as a young artist?
Greatest fear
Greatest fear growing up as a young artist?
as a young man.
That's my first question. The second question is, in being a younger artist in this generation, we are faced with so much situations, sometimes even family members, as an artist, they tell you what you are doing will not help you.
Yeah, it's true.
What you are doing will not bring income to the house. So
Yeah.
as a professional or as a professor,
Yes.
what advice would you give to such person?
Yes, okay.
Dealing with such situation, we find ourselves engaging in different jobs whilst we do
Sure,
what we love.
sure. I didn't start to be an artist. I mean, if you told me in those days, when I was young, that you must be an artist, I would say, thank you, no. No. But circumstances drove me to it. And you see, there's a purpose. I think there's a purpose for every life. There's a purpose for your life. But I'm believing it, that there was a purpose. I finished Salem here, last Salem middle school. And that was full stop for me. Nowhere else. My father, with 9 children, there's no way, even it was great to finish Salem, there was no way I could go to a secondary school. Some of you went to secondary school. There was no way I could go to a secondary school. So I set out, I came out of Salem, and I saw a scholarship thing advertised. They were then, for the first time in Ghana's history, they were doing what they call accelerated development plan. They were sending people out to colleges to learn to be teachers. So I wrote one, I applied for one. And I got Akropong Training College to go and train as a teacher. I didn't want to be a teacher, but I took the opportunity. Okay, it's the only way to get a good bread. So I went to train as a teacher. It was during the teaching period, that I met a teacher. I always worship that man. He died too early. J.D. Okai. He was teaching art at Akropong, and he kept saying, you are good, you are good, you are good, you are good. You know, when you are told you are good all the time, it gets into your head. It got into my head. I thought I was good. So when I finished teacher training, I came out to teach. And I tell you, it was a disaster. I knew it already. There was no way I could stand before these children with small, small eyes. So I hated it. So I applied to enter tech to specialize in art teaching, to be an art teacher. I was dodging teaching. So I went to tech. I applied to tech, they accepted me, and I went to train as an art teacher. And in that training, because you do everything as an art teacher, book binding, letter writing, what do you call it? Lettering, everything, you do everything. Painting, pottery, everything, as an art teacher. And I went through that. Then a break again came. Just when I finished, I went to, where? Yeah, Tema. I was sent to Tema. I was teaching at Tema. 1959. You weren't born. By 1959, they advertised in the graphic. They want people who have art background. They will send them abroad to go and learn textile designing and printing, to come and start Tema Textiles. At the time, there was no Tema Textiles. So I applied. In those days, you don't have to give bribe. There was no corruption. So I applied for one. I went to the Ministry of Industries. They interviewed me, and they said, yeah, you are right there. So I got one of those scholarships, and that's how I ended up in Britain studying textile designing and printing. But I went to a school where you do a major and a minor. So I went to study what the government wanted me to study, which is textiles. And I studied what I want to study in my minor, drawing and painting. So by the time I finished, I returned to Ghana. They hadn't opened Tematesa was not even built. This, at the time, that's why then I wanted to run away again. And see, breaks do come. Breaks do come in our lives, except that sometimes we are not aware to pick a break, a good break. So I'm sure you young people, please, there are breaks. Just open your eyes. Some breaks may come as not pleasant. Not pleasant. But if you sometimes you jump into it, you find that it's a big door that opens everything for you. I don't know. The break in my life was the poverty at Labade, which gave me the teaching area. Otherwise, really, I think I was good enough in the head. I could have gone to Achimota to go to do engineering or medicine, to do anything. I could have done it. But the poverty was good at the time.
So, Prof, he also asked what
Yes.
was your greatest fear?
Fear. My greatest fear. Really, I hadn't a lot of fears. I cannot, now this is a big question, I cannot even imagine it. Because it looked then, at the time, most of the interviews I attended, it's like they were pretty easy, good, and I didn't have much fear. When I was finishing at here, the Salem here, and there was nothing, it was blank. You finish now 7, you finish. And that something, fear gripped me. But as soon as Akropong opened up, not much fear, not much fear. And I was living, the next fear was rather when I was coming to retirement, when they told me you are going to retire. Now, when you are going to retire, it means they are sending you out to go and die. No, but that's what it means. So I knew that, hey, my death time is coming. But then I discussed with my wife and we thought we should come back home and do something in the area where I was, where I still am. And I think that was a break. But I had a fear when I was coming to retirement because it's dark out there, you know, it's really dark out there. And, but, you know, good things do happen too. Good things do happen. You might have heard of this lady, Shelley Du Bois.
Yeah.
Shelley Du Bois was the head of broadcasting during Nkrumah time. I had wanted to run out of the country. I want to go away from Ghana. In those days, Ghana was hot. Ghana was really hot. If you think Ghana is hot today, you don't know what is hot. Ghana was hot. I had then returned from Britain and I wanted to go back to Britain. And so I wanted to do an exhibition that would give me enough to buy a ticket to get out. I don't want trouble. And I asked my boys, I was working at the information, I asked the boys there, I want to be a respectable person and a good person to open the exhibition for me. So that a lot of people like this will come and buy paintings so that I get my ticket to get out. So the boys told me, oh, this woman, Mrs. Du Bois, she's very nice and she's good. If you see her, if she can open your gallery, your exhibition. So I went to Mrs. Du Bois and at Broadcasting House. And she looked at me like, hey, you are very something. You are brave to come here. Anyway, she said, where is the exhibition? I said, in Labade. She said, Labade? Yes, Labade. So, she said, okay, I want to see the works first. And I gave the driver a direction to our home in Labade. But I was shy, afraid if this woman comes to this house and see these paintings here, it's not good. So I went to another man's house because my father said our place was not good. Anyway, and asked that man that I want to show these things here. Some woman was coming to see. Mrs. Du Bois saw the work and she said, oh, I like it. I'll open the exhibition for you. She opened the exhibition. That's a break, the biggest break I think I had. She opened the exhibition. And she bought one, in fact. And then she said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to get out. She said, won't you want broadcasting to come to the broadcasting? I said, no, I don't want broadcasting. I've worked in the civil service before. Those people are bad. I don't know. So he said, okay, all right, go, you go. So I went. The next morning, the driver, he sent his driver home to Labari to pick me. And the driver told me, Madam wants to see you. I said, okay. So I sat in the car. They drove me to Madam's house. Madam took me, said, when I got there, he said, Osajifo wants to see you. Me? What for? In those days, when you hear Osajifo wants to see you, you run. Well, that was the story. Because there was so much bad said about him that people were afraid. I didn't like the idea that it was. But I said, okay, she was then having some tea. She said, okay, I'll finish and take you. So she took me to to Flagstaff House. Then they opened the gate, the doors, and we entered. And then we entered an office and we met the secretary and said, oh, the president in. And then when we met, he said, oh, this is the young man I spoke to you about. That's Mrs. Du Bois. This is the young man I spoke to you about. Apparently, she has been speaking to the president about my work. And I didn't. And then he said, when do you want to go? Where? No, I nearly dropped. Where? You know. Then he said, oh, but I thought he wanted to travel. You said so. She said, yes. So when do you want to go? I said, oh, yeah, back? Yeah. Said, oh, anytime, any day, even now. So that is how I was sent back to the Scottish Secretariat to pick my next scholarship to go back to Britain to study. Now, I thought that's the biggest break for a human being to do to another human being. But I got a scholarship to travel. But you must have breaks. And I think if you work very hard, you'll get a break in your life. Everybody has breaks. You'll get breaks in your life. Any other question? Yes.
So the next question is from the gentleman here.
Yes.
Your name and your question.
Good evening, bro.
Yeah, good evening.
My name is Winfred. Winfred.
Yeah, Wilfred.
My
Okay.
question to you is, I want to find out, are there any structures that the older generation of artists are putting down so that the younger generation of artists have it, if not easier, but at least, they can dream and aspire and know that it will happen. Because you did mention some of the auction houses, and most of them are outside Africa.
Yeah, sure.
And I strongly feel like people of your high standard can be able to put in certain structures or certain things that...
No, I disagree with you there. I wouldn't wait for you to finish. I disagree with you. I think this nation has to wake up. I think this nation has to wake up. A nation that does not value its culture. And this is a culture. This thing we are sitting down today, this is a contemporary culture, our contemporary culture. If we are not keeping them and you allow them to go to London to be auctioned there, one day you will go and buy it at an auction in London. That's not my... As an artist, my work is to work. My duty is to work as an artist. I was trained as an artist and I must work as an artist. It is not for me to build houses. I build this because circumstances were such that there's no place to show work decently. You see, when somebody enters a gallery, wherever, and you see a work hanging on a wall, he or she may not be an artist, but he can imagine this thing on his wall or her wall, and therefore you buy it. If you, there was a time, years ago, when I was trying to sell. I was selling at the UTC, between milk and sugar. You understand? But this nation has to wake up. That's period. This nation has to wake up and realize that artists, the art of the generation, this life, this culture, must be preserved. It is not for the artist to do. It is not for the artist.
Thank you very much, Paul. So we are done for the night. My name is Nanaya. As I said in the beginning, I'm from DreamOval Limited, and I was your host for the night. Thank you very much.
Thank you.